WWE SmackDown starts off with Randy Orton. He cuts a promo. He gets straight into it. He ends up saying that he needs an explanation from Cody Rhodes to why is he teaming up with Roman Reigns, and he asked Cody Rhodes to come out. Cody Rhodes then comes out and he gives his explanation, and he basically ends up saying that he's going to trust Roman Reigns because has been Roman. He gave examples of Roman giving him his word and Roman, living up to being honest. So he's going to believe what Roman says, and also says that they have a problem and they need to fix the bloodline problem. They need to put it to an end, and this is the way to do it. So he's teaming up with them. Then he ends up, pulling his hand out to shake hands, and he ends up asking, is this a problem? Randy ends up responding, ends up saying it's not a problem unless you make it a problem. Then Kevin Owens comes out, but right after Kevin Owens comes out, immediately, like literally immediately when Kevin Owens got in the ring, Solo Sikoa then comes out. He gets on the microphone and he ends up saying that Cody should trust Roman because he cannot rely on Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, and that he's going to need Roman Reigns to win because Randy and Kevin Owens are basically useless. He's like, they're useless. They're not helping you at all. Anytime they try to help, they don't get the job done. So he's saying that he's going to need Roman Reigns at Bad Blood because Kevin and Randy are going to be useless and they won't be able to help you. Then Kevin Owens ends up getting annoyed and he ends up just crashing out and ends up basically demanding a match between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, which will lead into a tag team match in the main event. Later in the show, KO and Cody and Randy had a segment where KO tells Cody to not interfere in the match if the Tongas come out. But Randy, behind KO's back, ends up telling Cody to help anyway if that happens, which will play a role towards the main event. Now we end up getting Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. This was a really good segment. Nia Jax is crashing out. She's frustrated that Bayley and Naomi are not leaving SmackDown and to get an opportunity at her championship, whoever wins. And then she turns to Tiffany Stratton. She's crashing out. And then she starts choking Tiffany Stratton. She starts choking her. And she's constantly asking Tiffany Stratton, what happened last week. Constantly choking her. Tiffany ends up apologizing for what happened last week. Ends up making an excuse that she was injured. And then Nia Jax ends up going back to being this happy, this person that, that's friends with Tiffany Stratton. Because at first she was very frustrated, angry. Then she lets go and start, doing that fake smile of her, pretending she's really Tiffany Stratton's friend. Once she leaves, Tiffany Stratton has that angry look. They're planting the seeds of her turning on Nia Jax, which is I like. Now, the only thing I don't like is that Tiffany is becoming a babyface by doing this. I understand why they would turn her babyface. Just me personally, I like her as a heel. I don't think every person that all of a sudden gets hot deserves to be a babyface. I understand why they do it. It makes sense, but I like Tiffany Stratton as a heel. But it is what it is. But I've been loving this. This was a really great segment. This is probably the best segment Nia Jax has had, in my opinion, since she's been on the main roster. And she's been great since her return. But this was a really amazing segment. I enjoyed everything they did here. This was great. Now we end up getting Bayley versus Naomi for the number one contendership to see who will face Nia Jax at Bad Blood. And this was a really solid match. This was a really good match, really fun, entertaining match. But Bayley ends up picking up the victory. She will be the one to face Nia Jax at Bad Blood. Now, I thought they was going to pull a little bit more strings here, add a little bit more fuel to the fire, have Naomi, be a little frustrated at Bayley a little bit. But after the match, they end up having a segment where they basically end up hugging it out and be on good terms. So I don't know what the plan is. I'm assuming they're still going to do the whole one of them turning on each other, mainly Naomi, but they're probably just going to slow build it like Triple H likes to do. They probably do something maybe after Bad Blood because I don't see how Actually, never mind. I can see Naomi interfering in the match, costing Bayley the match because Tiffany may get involved. So I can see that happening at Bad Blood, which could lead to their rivalry. But we'll see how this plays out. Now we end up getting Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade. The best of 7. This is the 6th match they had, and you could argue this is probably their best match that they had. This match was absolute banger, but this is what they do. They have put on 6 consecutive banger matches. Earlier in the show, LA Knight was talking to Andrade. Andrade confronted LA Knight about, the handshake last week. Out of nowhere, Carmelo Hayes ends up attacking LA Knight during that altercation, which will lead into the match. Because towards the end of the match, LA Knight comes out, of course, wanting payback during the match, which ends up costing Andrade the match because Andrade was talking to LA Knight, trying to get him out the ring, but LA Knight wouldn't listen, which allowed Carmelo to push Andrade towards LA Knight, get a roll up pin, and ends up picking up the victory. This was really good. I like this. I will say this. I do not like how baby faces have this dumb trope of wanting payback no matter what, because baby faces would constantly complain and whine about people interfering in their matches, but they would do the same thing when someone attacks them. I don't understand why, because it doesn't make sense from a logical standpoint. Now, I'm not saying everything in wrestling needs to be logical, but some things is like, why? I get why they did it, but it kind of frustrates me a bit. But after the match, Andrade tries no, LA Knight tries, try to talk to Andrade, but Andrade is listening. LA Knight tries to shake his hand, but Andrade ends up refusing, which I like because you didn't accept my handshake last week. Why am I going to accept it this week? Especially if you cost me a match. Makes sense for him to refuse. I love this. I can't wait to see what's going to happen whenever they have their 7 match. That match should be an absolute bang. They're probably going to have it next week. The go home show to Bad Blood. They're probably just going to have it on the go home show of Bad Blood. But this was great. Now we end up getting Michin versus Piper Niven, setting up the match from last week, the build up towards the dumpster match that Michin will have against Chelsea Green. This was also a really good match, really fun, really good match. Piper Niven and Chelsea Green tried to go to their typical shenanigans, but Michin was able to overcome that and end up picking up the victory, very shockingly. This was really good. I have been really enjoying this little rivalry between Michin, Chelsea Green, and Piper Niven. I've been really loving this. Loved all 3 of them getting TV time because all 3 of them are incredibly good. You could argue all, well, I wouldn't say Chelsea Green is underrated only because a lot of people give Chelsea Green her flowers, but Michin, Piper Niven, very underrated, really good. Really love that they're getting the TV time, getting time to shine, showcase how good they really are. I've been personally enjoying this feud. I can't wait to see how that dumpster match actually plays out, to see how they would actually pull that off. So I can't wait to see what happens next week between this rivalry. Now we get towards the main event. We get Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens versus Jacob Fatu versus Soul Skull. I did not watch this match at all because I knew how this match was going to end. So there was no need for me to watch. I watched like the last 3 minutes because that's all you needed to watch. Towards the end of the match, of course, the Tongas ends up interfering, which allowed Cody Rhodes to end up coming out trying to save the day. But then Jacob Fatu ends up taking out Cody. He ends up hitting like a suicide dive, if I'm not mistaken. Then Solo tries to take advantage, tries to hit a Samoan Spike, but Kevin Owens ends up hitting the stunner, goes for the pin, but as he's going for the pin, Jacob Fatu throws Cody Rhodes into the referee's leg. I don't know if he did that on purpose or by accident, but he ends up, I'm talking about kayfabe wise, because we know he did it on purpose, but kayfabe wise, the way he did it, it looked like he did it by accident. He ends up throwing Cody in the ring, but he ends up throwing him into the referee's leg, which made the ref collapse, which ends up costing Kevin Owens the match. Kevin Owens is frustrated because he didn't want him in the match. This allowed Jacob Fatu to end up hitting 2 super kicks to allow Soto to pick up the victory. I will say this. I don't know why 2 super kicks was enough to destroy Kevin Owens. Now, to be fair, I didn't watch the match, so maybe KO got hit with a finisher earlier in the match, so I could be wrong there. If he got hit with a finisher earlier in the match, then fine. But very shocked that 2 super kicks was all it took. But after the match, Cody tries to confront KO, but KO is not having it. KO is crashing out. He's very frustrated. He's angry. He's yelling on his face. Randy Orton has to be the mediator, has to, try to break it up, have to calm both of them down. They're slowly, very slowly, building up the turn between KO and maybe potentially Randy Orton. But Randy Orton, if he turns, he's not turning until like Royal Rumble season. But they're slowly building up. Kevin Owens getting more and more frustrated with Cody Rhodes. He asked them not to help, but he ended up helping anyway. So they're slowly building this up. It's similar to what we've been seeing, but it is interesting to see when eventually they will pull the trigger. So you guys let me know your opinions down below. I don't really have much else to say. This was an overall really good SmackDown. You guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.